This is Mistakes in the Making.
Hi, I'm Sandrine Matthews, and I'm here to talk about mistakes. Anyone that knows me knows I enjoy discussing the emotional and psychological aspects of being a creative, and what I'm sharing today is definitely on brand with that. The mistake I want to talk about, and that I still struggle with from time to time, is self-doubt. Unless you've been working in the industry for decades, and sometimes even then, it's unlikely you have encountered every possible scenario on set, and certainly not to the point where you're an expert at everything. Best case scenario, you'll be about 85% qualified for the next job you're offered. Maybe you've directed teenagers, but not 6 and 7-year-olds. Maybe you've been a wardrobe assistant to great mentors. This is your first opportunity to be a costume designer. Maybe you've gaffed a Moonlight set before, but only on horror films. Maybe you were a PA on a lot of student films, and this is your first major production. So there's always some level of fake it till you make it, and that's involved in filmmaking. The problem is, we work so hard trying to convince everyone else we can do the job, we forget to convince ourselves. The first time I was the first assistant director on a feature, my qualification level was a generous 60%. Things started out fine. Pre-production went smoothly. I trained my second and thought she had a good grasp on the job. And I was just several steps ahead during all of preparation. Then production started and things began to pile up. Trouble with location, trouble with walkies, a base camp further away than we expected. And all those problems cropped up in just the first hour. And every day the hits just kept coming. Minor things a more experienced AD may have been able to predict, or an AD that wasn't required to wear as many additional hats as I was. But I still managed to take care of them as they happened. I'd classify them as things that weren't truly my fault, but they were my responsibility. And I'd try to think of ways to improve them as I moved forward. On the inside, I was barely treading water, but on the outside, things were still going fairly well. That's until something happened that was my fault. It was a relatively small thing, like forgetting one actor was supposed to go in a different vehicle than everyone else. But after putting out so many fires throughout the day and the week, that was my straw. That was a moment I lost total confidence in myself. And from there on out, my attempts at regaining control of the set were futile, because in the back of my mind, I was beating myself up over all the failed attempts to perform. I kept thinking that once we got through our heaviest work days, I could finally breathe and recoup, as well as get more than 3 hours of sleep at night. But that opportunity never came, and on our last really intense day, I was let go. I spent the following weeks going over and over in my head all the things I'd done wrong and what I could have done better. As sad as I was about not being able to finish out the shoot, I was even more upset with myself for letting everyone down by not being good enough. Once shooting wrapped, I talked to the producer. She still had really great things to say about me and didn't bring up the laundry list of failures I was certain she'd have. Instead, she echoed something we'd talked about a few times, but that hadn't really focused on until that moment. She said she was waiting for me to step up and lead, but instead I lost control. So in the end, it wasn't the things I did wrong or the things that I didn't know that were my demise. It was that I was trying so hard to make everyone believe in me, I didn't spend the necessary time to believe in myself. On paper, I was extra prepared for the job as I knew it, but not for the many unknowns, and more importantly, for how much I would get in my own way. The more I think back on it, the more I took every step just hoping that it was the right one. And as I said, even with this knowledge, it's a mistake I still make. In our work, we're going to make choices, and we're going to make wrong choices. There are going to be things we don't know, and sometimes we'll need to ask for help. I don't encourage anyone to accept a job that's well beyond their scope of qualifications, but most of the time, you're more qualified than you think. It's important to believe that you are where you're supposed to be so that others can have the opportunity to believe it too. So that's me. Thank you, Bonsai, for having me. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram at I am Sandrine. Thank you all for listening.
You've been listening to Mistakes in the Making. If you have your own mistake that you've made while in the film industry and you want to let others know so they don't make the same mistake, reach out to us at contact@bonsai.film and we'll take it from there. You can also reach out to us on social media at _Bonsai Creative on Instagram and Twitter. And you can search for us on YouTube and Facebook by searching for Bonsai Creative. You can also visit our website where we have industry insights and links to all of our podcasts and so much more at www.bonsai.film. And thank you for listening.